a few people in the industry have talked about, we think as an industry we've gotten away from the camaraderie and we need to bring it back and help build the sport together. And that's what I thought this was. And that's what we hoped it would be.
I approve waterboarding. They're talking about wakeboarding. The thing about wakeboarding, every trick is an invert.
Backside.
Frontside, air railing.
A new dimension.
All right, Dill. So we're at BROstock. It's Sunday morning-ish. We're at the event venue. Everyone's kind of cleaning up. Let's kind of run through the whole thing and how we got here and I guess BROstock, the return and our involvement, our journey here. So where did we start? We started elevated?
So you started in Florida. So why don't we get into that a little bit? The most runaround way to go 4 hours north that anybody has ever done.
Okay, fair. Okay, yeah. So my parents have this van who they let me put the Grab Matters podcast sticker on the side of, but they use it for camping and they let me use it for some of the events and stuff. So I wanted to take it here and I wanted to hit a couple of cable parks on the way, and I was going to pick you up at Elevated. So yeah, I flew from Orlando to northern Michigan and then drove down. So
for people who don't know, I mean, how long would it be to get to here from Orlando?
Probably like 6-7 hours.
6 hours, yeah. So he took like a 3-hour flight to Michigan.
Yep.
And then drove like 14 hours to North Carolina, and then we drove another 6 here.
Yep.
So
we also did take the long way from Elevated here, but we'll get into that, I guess, in a little bit. But,
we did.
Yeah, so drove down, hit Wake Nation Cincinnati Action Wake Park on the way, then hit Elevated. We took some very fun laps there, me and you. Kind of plotted what we were going to do this weekend. And then
mild plotting.
Very mild plotting. We were kind of running and gunning this weekend. But yeah, so BROstock's back. BROstock 2025. It's been 10 years. This is a double up boat contest, big air contest, you could say. Dylan, I guess what were your thoughts of BROstock before we got here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good just to kind of set the frame. So, again, it's been 10 years. I'm 26 now. So, the last time a BROstock happened, I was 16 years old. So, I'm coming up from like 12 to like 17, like my age. I was watching every single wakeboard edit that came out all the time. And in that era of time for me, so, you know, like 10 years ago, so like early 2010s, like we had Wake Brothers come out. We had the BROstock recap videos and just general like boat pro wakeboarder party vibes. So like I'm watching all these like BROstock recap videos as like a 14, 15, 16-year-old girls just like dumping them out. You got the BROstock shaka over the nipples like everywhere. I'm like 15, like, dude, pro wakeboarder, like that's what I'm trying to do.
Doesn't get any better than that.
100%. Yeah, watching Wake Brothers, they just got like chicks around hitting like
Sick
rails
boats.
coming out of the yard and shit, and I'm like, this life, I'm about it.
Yeah.
I back it. So that's kind of my perception of BROstock, was just like big party, tons of boats, everyone just having a good time, super laid back.
Conditions looked like shit, like really bad.
Yeah, in almost every recap video.
Recap video, which is whatever. It's a double up contest. And so anyways, I guess we were very excited. It seemed like a larger than life thing for me, at least when I was, you know, younger looking at BROstock. I never went to any of them. You didn't go to any of them. So when we were talking with Don at Liquid about, you know, hey, how can we, you know, get involved basically, it was cool. Like we were definitely both very excited to be involved in the return of BROstock, and returning events is basically like starting a new event. So there's a lot of logistics involved, and we're going to talk to Don later about that, I'm sure. But yeah, so I guess I don't know where we want to go from here, because we can go our journey, I guess, from Elevated here. We took a little bit of a detour. We wanted to put some money down at the casino to just see if we could add a little bit to the purse here.
Yeah, so let's just kind of set the stage, right? So Hunter, I'm living in Elevated Wake Park, wakeboard park in North Carolina, and Hunter's like, yeah, I'll be there on Tuesday, or whenever you said you were going to show up.
I was late.
Yeah, classic, like a full day late. He's like, yeah, I'm going to be there just like super late Tuesday, and then on Tuesday, he's like, actually, I'm going to hit Wake Nation Cincy and stay at a friend's house. Like, I'll be there early in the morning on Wednesday. And then he showed up, I don't know, like 5 p.m. on Wednesday or something.
Yeah, it was later.
Yeah.
4 or 5
So
p.m.
we rode, we got a set, and then we sat down and we're like, okay, we need some ideas now. There had been a couple like in the car brainstorm sessions, but you know, we just need some content ideas, some stuff to pump out on social media. So Hunter was all hyped up. He's like, is there a casino on the way? And I was like, no, because we're not driving through the mountains. It's straight through a city. And then he gets on Google. He's like, oh, dude, it's only like an hour and a half out of the way. We can just go through the Smoky Mountains and hit the Cherokee Casino.
Yep, we did. So that was kind of the first, I would say, you know, road to BROstock journey we had. It's been 10 years since BROstock has happened, obviously, and it's happening on June 28th. So we just put $50 on 28 on the roulette wheel and $50 on 10. We filmed as much of it as we could until they told Dylan to stop filming.
We did pretty good. We were pretty deep in there.
Yeah, we got pretty deep in there. We spent maybe 45 seconds total at the roulette table.
It was
Probably less.
pretty comical. Yeah, the guy just took our $100 and was like, "Okay, boys, have a good day," and we were out.
Got to have been left. But if it would have hit, it would have been great. It would have been great. We're doubling it next year on the road to BROstock. And
to be fair, should we get into the big air purse? Because it kind of almost just happened anyway.
That's perfect, actually. Yeah, get into the big air purse because I didn't hear a ton about this. But
yeah, I mean, I didn't hear a ton either. I just kind of heard some boys talking about it. So at the opening night dinner, Steele was talking like, "Hey, should we get all the riders to throw in $100 for biggest air?" And people were not that about it. So Steele was basically like, "Fuck it, I'll put in a G." And this is like a game of telephone, so some details could be blurry here. So take it with a grain of salt.
Of it, though.
Yeah, we're getting the gist. So Steele's like, "I'll put a G on biggest air." Hayden Berg from Waterco backed him and was like, "I got you with another
I'll
G."
match.
Yep. And then Blake Bishop had like a homie there who threw in another G.
I think he threw in 2 Gs.
He threw 2 Gs. Yeah. So there was a 4K bounty on biggest air of BROstock. So it kind of worked out anyway. We were going to put 1,800 on biggest Rayleigh because we don't ride boats, so we have no idea how hard Rayleighs are on the double up, but would have 100% provided some entertainment.
Well, I talked to, I think it was either Brett or Daniel Johnson, Brett Powell, and they were like, "Man, I wish they would have hit. I would have just gone first tee Rayleigh right off the rip."
Yeah.
So,
would have been sick. We saw 0 Rayleighs.
Zero Rayleighs. We also didn't see a ton of double ups the first day. Actually, we saw it 2 the first day.
You're right. There could have been
Friday.
one.
There could have been. I doubt it, but there could have been.
Yeah.
We can't sit here and say there wasn't. So yeah, let's go. We do the whole casino thing. We get here, road to BROstock, all that. We get here Thursday, checking out the event site, which is sick.
So we rock up, and it's like pretty nice weather the whole way, and then like 10 minutes before,
Torrential
like
downpour.
Torrential, like lightning hitting everywhere, super gnarly storm. Like apparently there was a bunch of hail.
That's what we heard.
Hail,
We didn't see that,
but yeah, so we rock up, and Chase and the crew from Terminus are like putting the rail together. It looked like they just kind of finished unloading the container of unit stuff. Like Vendor Village on the schedule was supposed to be getting set up. There were a few easy up tents, but basically no people and nothing was set up.
Yeah, it was kind of dark skies and gloomy, and it was raining hard, and we were like, oh, okay. Well, the venue itself looked sick. And it still does look sick. It was very cool. Good spot, I think. So, yeah, that was Thursday. Kind of crashed Thursday. We didn't do a whole lot. We posted some stuff. But then Friday was the first day of practice. And it started with Unit and Liquid Force recreated the Relentless rail from the movie Relentless that they sessioned a bunch towards the end. I'll put some clips in here. And so they had that in the water, which is really cool. The Terminus guys all helped out with that, putting it together, putting it in the water. That rail is going to KC Water Sports in America here. If you're interested in hitting it, they put that in real close to shore. It was a great look. They did a really good job on the graphic, kind of recreating it. So I hit that once or twice. Some of the other boys, a lot of the Sling boys hit it. Some of the Liquid Force guys hit it. That was cool to see. They got an XL kicker in there too. And that was just for like an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe. And then double up practice was right after that, right?
Yeah. I think they got straight into double up practice from the rail gym, and our plan was we were going to hit the last like hour and a half, 90 minutes after getting some man on the street style content. How'd that go?
Watching the double ups, how'd that go?
Yeah, how'd that go?
It didn't go. We didn't really see any double ups.
No, they ended an hour and a half early.
They moved fast. Somehow.
Apparently.
Yeah, so we did see one double up as we were going to the gas station, and somebody just got absolutely punted. I think it was.
I think it was the very first double up of the day.
Very first one.
And just full land on head from 10 feet in the air. And this venue's sick too, because it's like a pretty major road. Well, I don't know about pretty major, but a major road with a little bridge that goes over the lake. So as we're driving over the bridge, we just like see this perfectly teed up double up, and just somebody flying through the air and landing on their head. It was classic.
It's exactly what we want to see. And then when we were driving back, this must have been one of the last double ups. Just a laced 7, like a laced front 7.
Yep.
Perfect.
I got out my phone because I felt like I blew it on the first one driving across the bridge and not having my phone out. So I was like, I'll just have my phone out just in case. Like we were at the exact same spot on the bridge, like perfect viewing angle.
It really was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the moral of that is I feel like you could see these double ups from so many different angles. Like you have the venue here, you have the road. So, yeah, great venue event.
Yeah, and I guess just to dive into the venue, we have like the stadium style seating here. To my knowledge, I don't really know anything about this place, but it's Lake Lanier Olympic Park. It seems like there was like Olympic rowing here or something. They got a cool tower. I rocked up and was immediately like, oh, I've seen this before. And it was the Wake Skate Worlds that Bob did like, I don't know, probably 7 years ago or something now.
Maybe 10 years ago at this point, but yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, but so I had seen the tower just like on videos and stuff, but super cool venue. There's like stadium seating here. There's a fair bit of parking, and then the lake is wide enough here where they could drive double ups and then also have like the whole flotilla going around the backside.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess comparing the conditions, I feel like from the BROstocks we've seen in the past, they looked pretty damn good here. I mean, I haven't talked to a ton of the riders on like how good it was, but
it was pretty glassy.
There were good tricks
all
going
day.
down. Like things were getting landed.
Yeah, it was hilarious seeing just a loaded 25-foot wakeboard boat just drive like within 2 feet of no wake buoys.
Often, like every single lap.
Yeah, every single go. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's kind of move into the riders' dinner, the welcome dinner, I guess, because it was more than just like a riders' meeting. It was at a brewery called Nofo. Apparently, I don't think we're welcome back there. I don't know what happened, but it was really cool. It was a lot of legends from the sport. I mean, from those days that me and you were talking about of just watching, like Shane Bonifay, Parks Bonifay, Sean Watson, Aaron. Like, there's so many names that were there, which was super cool to get them all back involved.
Yeah, and actually the night kind of started off with, well, this place was pretty sick. They had like a speakeasy in the back, so you get like a tap on the shoulder and they're like, yo boys, like come back. We like walk through a bookcase and they just have all these sick like swag bags set up for all the riders and then also like all of the event staff. So that was super cool. Like the boys who helped set the event, put in the rail, just like, you know, all the sponsors, and then like any media crew, we all got swag bags, and it was solid. It felt like really like taken care of, and it was like, damn, this is sick. Like this is what I was imagining this all would be like when I was 14 years old watching these recap videos.
100%.
Just wasn't good enough to cut it on the wakeboard side of things.
Yeah, that was never going to happen for me for sure. So
we found a lane.
We found a lane. We're here. So yeah, it just felt like they were definitely took it seriously of taking care of the riders, of, you know, all the bag, the hat, nice melon hats, nice shirts. You know, there was drinks. I think there was a tab for everyone to get drinks, and so it was just good energy. It was, you know, a lot of energy.
Right after that they got into the like Legends Awards. So they had these super sick rings, like fatty, like Super Bowl looking rings. I think they had like 10 or maybe a dozen of them, and they gave them out to people at the event. So
I think it was Legends of BROstock's past. So which there were a lot of. I'm sure if Rusty was here, he probably would have got one as well. But he was out due to an injury, so that was cool to see everybody. You know, it's cool to honor like the legends of the past, and it's cool that they come back. And that's a cool thing to do.
And it's sick for me, too, because, like, those were the people that I grew up, like, looking up to and watching videos of. So it's just cool to kind of, like, have all that, like, come back and get stirred up, right? Like, all the videos that I was watching when I was, like, 12, 13, 14, 15. And it's like, oh, like, those are the legends that they're honoring, like, right now. Like, the people that were at the peak of their careers then. And so it's sick.
100%. It's cool they're still involved. I've said that a lot, but it is cool to keep people like that in the sport. So power did go out. That was a good moment. It was like right at the end, I feel like, of the whole thing. It was perfect timing, and the power went out, and everyone's going crazy, which is just a cool moment.
Yeah, because, again, another, like, right around the time that the finals would be going down the following day, and the same thing happened the day previous, like 7 p.m., just, like, torrential downpour, like, trees were falling down, there was hail, like, gale force winds.
Driving back, there were lights out. It was, like, just chaos in the streets of
of so, like, that's what the buildup of every day was. It's just like crazy heat wave on the whole East Coast right now. So just like afternoon thunderstorms, like the thermals coming in are just intense.
Yeah, and so it's kind of just like ominous of like, well, is tomorrow just going to be a shit show with rain and torrential downpour, and what's going to happen? The BROstock gods, or the double up gods, I guess you could say, did not want that to happen because it was great weather. So let's get into Saturday, the event day. So it started at 11, right, is when the first double up started getting popped off. And that was the opening heats, which were heats of 5 with the top 2 moving on.
And there were some interesting rules at this one. So there was like a qualification round and then a semifinals round. So heats of 4, top 2 move on. And in the qualification round, you have to take like 1 left and 1 right, and then you get a third double up, and you can pick left or right. I believe only your top double up got put through.
Right? You were on the boat for that, so I guess we don't have confirmation.
I'm pretty sure like just top double up.
I think so.
You didn't have to have like a left and a right. Put you through, but then if you move through from qualifications to semis, you couldn't use any of the tricks that you landed or like got you through in qualification.
Yep, and that is
like we saw. I mean, I'm not in Orlando watching all these dudes ride boat all the time, but like Gunther landed the same trick, like a rewind thingy, like super sick, really off axis, like perfectly, and he landed it perfectly twice.
Yeah.
So like he couldn't use that in semis and ended up like not putting down a trick in semis.
Yeah.
So it's like not that Gunther by any means is like a one-trick pony, but like, you know, if you have a trick that
strategy,
is like absolutely 100% on lock, you can't just ride it all the way to the finals.
Which is cool, I think, because that's also the double up. Like the cool thing about the double ups is like you're seeing new tricks, different things, slams. Like it's kind of the whole idea behind it, I feel like. And then so the round 2,
there were a lot of slams.
There were a lot of slams.
That's
why double up contests are sick. You're either gonna get stoked because somebody laces a trick, or they're just gonna get smoked, eaten alive, which is great. We saw a lot of people get eaten alive. I'm thinking of Steeler right now in a double half cab, I think, and just fucking hits the water and just goes away. He just goes away.
Went away.
He just went away. So second round was head to head. And
semis. This was just 2 double ups, so they got 1 left, 1 right. So 10 people made it through, so there were 5 like head-to-head setups, and the head-to-heads were great. I mean, do we want to get into the little bit of drama?
Yeah, so they reseeded. Was the idea was they were going to reseed, and I think it was originally based on score. So just you're running from the person with the highest score that made it through is going against the person with the lowest score that made it through. So number 1 seed going against number 10 seed, and then you kind of move in 2 versus 9, etc. And I wasn't there for all of it, but there was a little bit of confusion as to like, okay, well, how
I basically
are we
think some of the riders were just like
not hyped on the matchups.
that they were just kind of bitching about the scoring being a little inconsistent, and they're like, oh, I don't know if that makes the most sense for like reseeding and this and that. So I don't know how they ended up reseeding, but we were looking at the matchups, and it almost looked like the LF boys were just like, oh, these ones would just be like the most fun to watch. Like we had Corey versus T. Herm. Yeah.
The Ditch Brothers against each other.
Yep.
I'm not thinking.
We had
of
Luca and Gunther.
Luca and Gunther, like, I mean, I guess if you think about it, all the matchups would have been good, but like
Sam? Nope.
Ty and Sam.
No,
not Ty and Sam. Ty and Massey, because Massey fell twice.
Yep.
We're getting in the weeds here on this. So, anyways, it was head to head. It was good matchups. It is, I'm not going to say kind of a bummer, but like if the first person goes out and falls twice, then like the second person basically makes it through, but that's just how it is. That's just, you know.
That's just the way she goes.
That's the way she goes. So that did happen a couple times.
And too, so I was on the boat for some of it. I was on the boat for all of finals and then the last little bit, the last round of qualifications. So I got to kind of see the vibes on the boat and the judging. I mean, should we just dive into this?
Yeah, dive into this. I mean, obviously say who the judges are and stuff, because you're on the boat, so it's a cool experience.
Yeah, 100%. So the driver of the boat was Sean Watson, like legend of wakeboarding and legend of BROstock for sure. Yeah, so Watson was driving the boat and he killed it, really, like being in the boat with him too. It was like funny seeing him. I'd never met him before, but he was very much so like every single double up, like, oh, is that good? Do you want it a little more open, a little more closed? And like also not being a boat rider and like having the perfect pass super dialed, it almost sounded like comical to me. The boys would be like going 22.5 miles an hour and they'd be like, oh, can we get 22.4? Can we get 22.4? And I'm like, are you serious? But it does make a difference, like how fast the boat is going, because it makes a difference how wide the wake is. If you go a little slower, the wake gets a little wider. So if you're, I guess there's factors. I'm ignorant.
And if you ride a lot of boat, I mean, all the small things do matter. And you're trying to time this perfect little, or not big, you're this perfect double up in this little window that you're trying to hit to be able to do these tricks that are. So, I mean, I guess me and you were talking about double ups and like the inconsistency of them from what we've heard and all that stuff. It's like you have a trick that you can maybe do 3 out of 5 times or you feel pretty good about, but then all the double ups aren't going to be perfect because the lake's not perfect, right? It's not a perfect environment. So it's kind of, you have a trick that you get 3 out of 5 times, but then you might not get 3 perfect double ups.
Yeah, maybe only every other double up you hit is money.
Yeah.
So then this trick that you have 3 out of 5 times goes to 3 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's not looking so good.
It totally changes the game. So like, anyways, all that being said, I think it was a great show, I guess you could say, in terms of like people sending, people landing, people falling. Like it had everything in terms of that, and I think it made for a really good final. There were 5 in the final, and I think it made for a great final.
It was super good vibes, yeah. So, and then the vibes on the boat. So we had Watson driving the boat all day, absolutely crushed it. I mean, probably drove like 200 double ups.
Including practice too, a lot.
He drove a lot of double ups. And then the judges were Tom Fouché, Ollie Jerome, and Brian Grubb. And then we also had like Shane Bonifay in the boat filming for the Alliance live stream. So like I'm in the boat and it's just like, dude, just full of legends. Like, are you kidding me? Like I never met Watson or Grubb before, so I'm just like in there hanging with those boys. I kind of knew Ollie and Tom already, but like, are you kidding me? Like 13-year-old Dill he's hyped.
Yeah, that's
in the boat
sick.
With a camera. Like it's big vibes.
That is sick.
But yeah, overall, this was like the exact way that I feel about wakeboarding and I feel about judging, which is also why like I'm not in charge of WWA judging, and like somebody like John is, who's like super like in the weeds and technical. But it's kind of like, you know, all the boys are chatting it up, and there's like real critical decision making going down, and they're taking it seriously. But at the end of the day, it is a little more just kind of like, you just got to make a call, and it's just like, yeah, like that's the one.
Well, it's also like criteria is different, right? Because
Yeah,
like WakeFest has different criteria. I don't know. I wasn't at the judges booth or whatever what their criteria was. I mean, I don't have any complaints. I'm not a judge. Neither are you. So like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to speak on this
but
at all.
overall, the vibe in the boat was super good, and everyone was taking it seriously, like no doubt. I think Luca was the very last rider of qualification. So,
Yes, I think so.
Oh, and this is just like good vibe setting too. So it took like way longer to get through qualification than it was supposed to, like a whole extra hour. So they're super far behind. I'm in the boat with the boys, and they're like, dude, it's going to be tight. We're only going to have like 30 minutes to grab some food before we got to get back in the boat. And then Watson's like, oh, well, we got to go after qualifications are done, and they only have 30 minutes to like handle their stuff and like get off the boat because they've just been on there for 3 hours. He's like, well, we got to rip by the flotilla and give the people what they want. Like, come on. So, dude, we cruise over on this, like, just unit of a boat to a flotilla of probably, like, I don't know, like $10 million worth of wakeboard boats all tied together.
Easy,
yeah, just with, like, some shitty buoys,
numbers.
like, putting them together, and there's just, like, these fatty double-up rollers, like, coming through all day. But we rock over there. Luca immediately jumps in the water, and then, like, Blake Bishop's got a boat that he rented, just, like, packed full of people, like, probably 15 people, and Luca's like, I need a beer! Next thing, dude, there's just fully loaded beers just flying out of the sky at this, like, brand new $300,000, or whatever, $150,000 boat that we're on. Just, like, none of them hit the boat, but like they definitely could have. They're just landed in the water all around. Luca's diving in for beers. Ollie's diving in for beers. The boys are thumb gunning. Luca was like, oh, I need a blade. And Grub's like, give me that thing. Just immediately thumbed it, like just no problem whatsoever. I'm like, oh, this guy's done this before.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a vet.
The hundreds of times, thousands, I'm sure.
Yep. And
So,
then, Shane like drank a beer out of a little duck they had. But overall, just super good vibes. I was like, this is the bro stock that like I was seeing in the recap videos.
Yeah.
Like, these are the vibes. So it was just sick seeing the boys like all hectic, but still knowing like, oh, this is like a huge part of this contest. Like, we got to drive the boat by, like, just be involved and just be, like, hanging out with everybody.
Yeah, okay. And so I guess we can kind of move on to finals. Yeah, so finals was Ulf, Thomas Herman, Tyler Hyam, Luca Kidd, and who's the one? Sam Brown.
Yeah.
So they were all in finals, which is, I mean, you get a lot of variety there. A lot of Ulf is going to go fucking massive, which he did.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was trying to bring this back to flotilla. So I went over to the flotilla for a few of the last hits for finals. That's the place to be. If you're ever going to come to BROstock or any of these style events, does not matter what boat you have, put the boat in and go to the flotilla. Tie up and be there for as long as you want to be there. But that's the place to be because people are having a good time. There's music blasting. You can jump in the water. You have a great view here, at least, of the double ups. Like the ones on the far side by the flotilla are very close to where you are.
Yeah.
Like you know exactly what's going on.
Like the riders can almost spray the flotilla.
Yeah.
Like if Watson wanted to drive a little closer, like no question.
Yeah, and there were times I think when he drove Sam Brown in and he just like whipped him in and he like had no problem getting just cruising the flotilla.
Oh yeah, that's a great thing. We'll throw some shout outs to some of the boys too. Like we drove Luca over, then he just jumped in and stayed at the flotilla, and it's like 30 minutes till semis.
Yeah.
And you know they're on the radio. They're like, these boys know they need to be back in 30 minutes, right? And it's like, it'll be fine.
BROstock,
They'll
dude.
figure
Come
it
on,
out.
we're
This is
doing it.
BROstock.
All right, so I think this is a big moment that happened in wakeboarding with Luca Kidd getting his first. Luca Kidd won, and I guess we can kind of run through. I feel like when I'm looking back on this, it was like a Luca versus Thomas Herman in my mind. That's like kind of what was going on.
Yeah, well, let me kind of run you through. Like, so I'm on the boat
you're on the
for
boat
all
for finals. Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was like very involved, and like if you've ever been around a wakeboard contest, you know, like sometimes they move a little slow. Like we're hitting a double up every 3 or 4 minutes, so it's like that's solid and keeping the vibes and entertainment going. But completely different energy, like actually being on the boat with the boys. So yeah, Sam went first. I think he had 2 falls. That sounds right.
Yep.
Yep. So he just got kind of a little deleted, but he
got very deleted.
Yeah, very deleted. But solid. Going for broke. Mad respect.
Yep.
Much respect. Or I guess there were 3 double ups. So, and then Ulf just like really, it was funny. We were on the boat, and I think Ollie he's like, he just really wants to see S to Blind win this contest. Or maybe it was Shane. He's like, that's definitely never won BROstock before. But if he would have laced the one that just he went to the moon on, like, I mean, that's That's gotta win.
I mean, yeah, way back in the day, they were like counting frames of how big somebody went, like Rusty and all these legends that went huge. Olaf has to be. I mean, I didn't see those in person.
I've never seen somebody
even
that
close.
high on the air.
It's insane.
He was, because also he was upside down, so like the handle doesn't have to go all the way
was up above his head.
Yeah, I mean, his board was probably 6 feet above the tower.
You're in the boat.
Yeah, it was
looked insane from shore or from
insane. Like he went so big. I was just like jaw dropped the whole time. So that was sick. He fully charged. He just went for 3 S to blinds or front flip to blinds.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't get a money one, but he got a couple okay ones, and that's kind of like an all or nothing trick.
Yeah.
Like you either time it perfectly and get booted to the moon. The other thing too, like as not a boat rider, watching these boys cut into the wake and stuff, it seemed like there was some strategy. Ulf was like full like Rayleigh air trick cut.
Well, you see
like,
Ulf
dude,
cut out, and it's like, oh, he's out there.
He was out there. Like, and that's what like Grubb and the boys in the boat were saying. They're like, he could not have cut any harder if he tried.
Yep.
Like just full charge. So that was solid. Definitely bringing the BROstock.
That's
vibes.
the one thing people understand. They might not know a double grab front 7, but they know when someone goes fucking huge, dude. And he did.
Yep, no question. So so that happened, and then Ty rode, and Ty got a pretty money double KGB. I think he fell on it once, and then he got it. So coming in
he scored
wrapped,
like a 90.5 or 91 or
yeah, 91. So I'm in the boat for this like discussion, and they're like, yeah, I mean, that was pretty perfect. He went big. He landed, pretty money. There was maybe like a little hand drag, but overall, like for double up vibes, like pretty good landing, pretty clean. So that kind of set the bar for like, okay, if you want to win this contest, it's got to be a better trick than this, or it's got to be cleaner or bigger or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just like a super money hit that he had. And then after that, I think
it was Luca, right?
Yep. So Luca went, and just to set the vibes too, Luca in qualifications did a double grab back 7, absolutely money. And then in semifinals, he did heel back 9. We didn't see that one. I don't know what the grab was on it. But yeah, that was the trick. Like heel backside spins is what we're getting him through. And I was on the boat, and Shane was saying that he was telling Luca, like, yo, if you want to win this thing and like go for broke, like it's going to take the back 10. Like back 9's probably not going to do it. All these boys are putting down double flips and stuff. If you want to play it safe, back 9. And Luca's like, oh no, like we're going for broke. Like if you know Luca, that's 100% the vibes. So Luca's cutting into the wake, all wrapped up. It's his very first double up of finals, and I just see him go through the air, and he just does this spin, and the last 360 was so slow that I'm like, that was no way that was a 1080, right? But I'm like, I really think that was a 1080. And then I look up, and it almost like hits Luca at the same time, because then he starts freaking out, dude. Like his mouth is open.
His 10s also look like 7s. It's so easy.
Yeah, he's like got his hand on his head, and he's like doing these little like surface reverts, like freaking out, punching the water, just like so hyped up, like absolutely freaking out. Everyone on the boat is frothing, like, fuck yeah, that was so sick. Like, I don't know what it's like to be on the boat for a PWT stop, but I can't imagine that the judges and the boat driver are like, yeah, that was sick. But that's like when the boys would put a trick down, that was the energy on the boat. And then afterwards they'd sit down, they'd watch the replay like on the live stream or on my camera, and then like get into technical judging. But they were just like frothing, and I'm like, dang, I just watched Luca put down like a perfect 1080 from like 70 feet away.
The
like,
best view you possibly could have.
It was so sick. And he's freaking out. He's turning red, dude. And then we're like cutting back, and he's like starting to cry a little bit. It's hard to tell because he's like still riding behind the boat, but it's like he's like getting intense, and I'm like on the boat just watching him freak out. I'm like, dude, he's like having a moment. We like come down, and he's like trying not to overly freak out because T-Herm's still got to go.
He hasn't won yet.
T-Herm's coming in as the highest seeded rider. Like he knows he's got those like double KGBs on lock, so he's trying not to freak out, but he's also freaking out. And so he's like kind of starting to cry. He's like, dude, this was like for my dad. And like, he's just like so hyped up and so emotional. Everyone on the boat is hyped for him. And it was just this like really cool moment. And then it's kind of like, yeah, how's he going to one up that? And for his third one, he tried to go back 12. And I mean, he just missed the handle, but like it was there.
It was looking good. Yeah.
It was there. Yep. So that was all super sick. And then, like Thomas is going last. He right off the rip does kind of like a almost perfect double KGB, but he slipped the grab. So that put him in third, like just barely behind Ty Hyam's
Yeah, and
double
I guess
cage.
a little context here. I was on the flotilla with Luca, and Luca, I was like the only one with a phone, basically. So he was like,
well, you
came
were the
over
only
to me.
one who wasn't absolutely hammered.
That's
all day flotilla.
That's a better way
vibe.
to put that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could actually. He was like, "Yo, can we pull the heats up?" And he was like apologetic about it. I was like, "Dude, fuck yeah! Like, let's pull up the live heats. Like, let's see if you win this shit or not." And so we were like, we saw the first one come in. He's like, "All right, cool. Like, cool. I'm, still 1, 2, 3 using first." Second one comes in, and it was better. Thomas's second one.
Yeah.
put him
So
into
Thomas
second.
comes in and he's like whatever. He's like just 0.1 below Ty. And he's kind of like, and I think he kind of knew he slipped the grab a little bit. So he puts down just like a perfect double KGB. Like, I don't really think he could have done it any better. Like held the grab the whole time, landed perfectly in the wake. And the boys are like chatting on the boat. It ends up coming back just like barely, just like a squeak, like Luca's still ahead. And what was Luca's vibe then?
Yeah. So Luca, once we saw the second one come in, Luca, I think, felt pretty good about himself. We'd have to ask him, but like he was like, okay, well, that was cleaned up and it still didn't do it.
Yeah.
It still didn't put him in first. So what's he going to do?
Yeah. So, and the vibe was basically everybody that was like really involved and really paying attention, which was not everyone at the venue, but everyone who was like involved and paying attention was kind of like, oh, it's going to take a triple. Like it's going to take a 1080 inverted.
Or double cage 5. It's
well,
going to be.
Yeah, or double cage 5. Yeah.
Those were, I think, the two options that he had.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
wheelhouse.
And I think someone on the boat even said like triple? Like just real kind of like low-key, and Thomas is like, what? And they're like, nothing. But like everybody knew. It's not like it was a hidden thought or anything,
It's the elephant in the room.
Yeah, without a doubt. So yeah, Thomas like cuts into this third double up, not wrapped up, so not going for double KGB again or double KGB 5, and just sends a triple. And we went back and like watched he kind of like missed the pop just a tiny bit, but like got 3 flips around and like got to his feet. So
if he would have connected, there's a non-zero chance he rides away from that.
Yeah, no, there's a decent chance. So just like, dude, the like atmosphere and the like, it was sick, dude. Like it all came up to the final hit of the contest. It's like it's sunset,
can't draw it up
dude.
any better than that.
It was just, it was so sick. And then what was the vibes whenever Thomas went down and you were on the flotilla with Luca?
I got to dog the flotilla a little bit. You guys ran out of beer, and this is unacceptable. There was no beers left on the boats for Thomas's final hit, so we need to retool for next year. However many beers you guys got, we need to get more beers. But yeah, so everybody was watching Thomas's final hit, and I was just watching Luca. I was filming Luca because I was like, he's not going to celebrate Thomas falling. I don't want anyone to think that that's what happened. He's celebrating the fact that he just won. Like, that's what's happening. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to film Luca, and if Thomas falls, I'm going to know. I don't even need to look at Thomas to see if he falls.
Yeah.
And Luca just has, the reaction you'd expect from someone getting their first big pro win ever.
Yeah.
And it being on, like, one of the bigger stages of an event that's been brought back. And it was just... Yeah, like you get goosebumps, literal goosebumps when I was there.
Yeah, the La Familia crew, like the Dish Brothers and some other fools were like all out at the flotilla. It was sick. It was good vibes. At the end of it, because there was potentially some shotgunning going down and whatnot. I like sat down and was like, dude, how'd so much water get in the boat? I'm like, oh, this is beer. I'm sitting on beer. Like the party vibes were there. It was just super good vibes. And like Thomas was for sure like bummed that he didn't just win and he put down like such a good trick, but like amazing sport. Immediately went into party mode. Like he was like on the flotilla partying, having a good time. Like
it does help that second got 5,500.
Yeah,
like that's kind of softens the blow. I'm sure you obviously would have liked to win, but like they paid down all the way to 10th place, so it's, that's good. We like to see that, not just all at the top. All right, and now we're gonna take a quick break and talk to Don Wallace from Liquid Force about how BROstock came to be, and how it came to be back in 2025. All right, so we've got the man himself, Don Wallace here. Don, I guess who are you and what's your position at Liquid Force, real quick?
So I'm Don Wallace. I'm technically I'm the brand director at Liquid Force. Been at Liquid Force for almost the entirety of the brand. I started in '97 and was team manager, marketing, all that, but now kind of just overseeing all of it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you make a lot of decisions, I guess you could say.
Yeah, exactly.
You have your hand in a lot.
A lot of times I'm not the one doing the work. I'm just the one deciding if the work should be done or not. Exactly.
Okay, love that. All right, so let's get into BROstock, right? So obviously we'll have you on the pod later at some point when you get in Orlando. We can do the whole full Don Wallace story, but we're here at BROstock, day after. I want to start with the name BROstock because I feel like a lot of people, myself included, I had no idea why BROstock was BROstock.
Yeah, so it's, you know, as the years have gone on, I think the story has changed probably slightly from what it
Little
truly
game
was.
of telephone, okay.
Yeah, but it literally was one of those things where, you know, we're talking 20 years ago. There were so many stocks. There was cable stock, board stock, wood stock, like all this stuff. And I remember myself, Aaron Grace, I believe, is the one that came up with the name.
Of course.
Yeah. He and Bill McCaffrey and I were having margaritas at this Mexican restaurant in Encinitas. And we just kept saying, we're like, this sport would be so much better if there were women involved. We basically were mocking that there were just so many dudes involved in
Just
wakeboarding.
dude stocks everywhere.
So dude stock was one of the names that came up. That one didn't stick, but we threw out BROstock, and I just remember our whole kind of crew laughing, like, that's such a ridiculous name, but it's such a fitting name for the sport at the time.
Yeah.
And it was just making fun of ourselves, basically.
Okay.
And somehow that's how it stuck.
And I feel like sometimes now people think that BROstock is like a serious, like, oh, BROstock, like it's a serious thing, where it's like it started completely opposite, like kind of making fun of the stocks.
It was making fun of the seriousness. Like, we'd go, no offense to my friends in Canyon Lake, but you'd go to just where like the bros were, and we thought it was so ridiculous.
Yeah. Not a very
everybody trying
environment, yeah.
Yeah, and everybody trying to outdo themselves. They're, you know, bigger boats, bigger speakers, all
See
this
how
stuff.
many fat sacks I have in this boat.
Exactly. We were just making fun of it.
Yeah. All right. So it's 2025. It's been 10 years since the last BROstock. Why bring it back? And what's that process been like?
Yeah, so I think why bring it back? It's because literally for the last 10 years, since we stopped doing it, we constantly get people that have been to the event in the past, or athletes fars that didn't have the chance to ride in it, always asking. And like, you know, the first couple of years, it was like, well, we don't have the sponsor. We had lost some sponsorship. We had, you know, one Monster Energy was a big sponsor, and when they started going different direction, we lost that. So that was the main reason. But honestly, we were tired. We're not an event company. We're a wakeboard brand.
Yeah.
And we were running events, and we were scrambling the whole time, and we just needed some time off and to regroup. And I would just say it was the kind of persistence of our athletes. Literally.
They bullied you into it.
Yes. It was like Gunther and different athletes that had just, you know, they were old enough to know what BROstock was back then, but they weren't
around
at that level, and they weren't on the team at that point to ride. So they finally bullied us into it, and somehow, I mean, I've got a crazy story of how close this event was to not happening this year.
Let's hear it.
So I guess, you know, typically an event this big, you know, you need a year or so at least to find a location, to get sponsors, all that. We started this process about a year ago, but we didn't really get very far until, I would say, maybe November or December. We had zero sponsors.
It's like almost 6 months out at that point.
We were having a conversation with Rob Coram at Axis, which made me feel like, okay, it's probably going to happen. He's probably going to kick down some financial support, get us some boats. But it hadn't happened. And then finally it came through in like January. We agreed with him, but that was still, you know, half of the money we needed. We had zero other sponsors, and we were kind of running out, and we were just having a hard time. And I had one morning, I remember waking up, I didn't sleep the whole night because I was just stressed about what are we doing? And I started we had twice a week BROstock meetings on top of our normal marketing. I started the meeting with saying, hey, this is awesome that we tried. Let's just bring it back in 2026. Like, I don't think we're going to pull this off. And I was a total bummer, and, you know, and I could just see
Don just killed the vibe.
Totally. And I could see like a couple people were like, yeah, cool. That's less work for us this year. Like, let's push it back. But it was Matt Long and the AK from One Wake. Those dudes were like, no, we have to do it this year. We got to make it happen. Bill McCaffrey kind of called me afterwards, said the same thing. And I just went through this moment of like, okay, let's roll the dice. Let's go for it. You know, I obviously didn't have approval from my boss to do this event at a huge loss. So we just hoped and kept pushing, and here we are now. You know, we ended up, we still are losing some money in this event, but we got to the point where we were comfortable with the amount of money we were losing, because thankfully we had so many other sponsors step up after Axis. But I can't thank Rob and that team enough, because that was one of the big things, was everybody was asking, well, who else is involved? And when they knew,
you got to have a big starting point.
Yeah.
Too, right? You can't throw in a bunch of small sponsors, supporting sponsors, which is awesome to have them. You need them too, but like, you got to have that. either the Monster or an Axis or like these big brands that believe.
100%. And that so like for next year, obviously the hope is that we bring in one of those beverage companies or something like that, just with bigger energy behind it.
Bigger everything. Yeah,
exactly.
Which is exactly what these events are. Like these marquee events, I'm thinking like Wakefest, Tennessee. I'm thinking BROstock. Like you need several of these throughout the summer where, maybe the Pro Wakeboard Tour isn't such a vibe like this, but like get everybody on the boat, partying, watching double ups, and just mayhem and chaos all day.
Totally. And Wakefest you mentioned, I've personally never been to it, but just the stuff I've seen, we were like, dang, that's basically what our event used to be, and they're running with it, and it's epic. But I think there's room for more of them.
100%. And it takes, you can't just do it 1 year. Because this is basically like doing a new event, right? Because it's been 10 years.
100%.
Some people are familiar with it, but like for the most part, you're just starting from scratch.
100%. And it's, luckily, it kind of turned out to have a lot of the same vibes as the old school one. Yeah. But this one became way more of a professional event. I mean, we had a live stream. We had police on location, just things that we didn't have back in the past, which I was a little nervous. Like, is that going to change the vibe? But obviously with the way the athletes were, it didn't. The vibe was exactly like BROstock used to be.
And the good thing is the La Familia crew, there's 8, 9, 10 of them or whatever. They bring enough energy. And people can kind of latch into that energy, right? So it's like, all right, we have these linchpins here that are going to be radiating the energy that we need.
Totally. So, I mean, that crew is, I've heard you guys talk about it previously, but it's like, and I've talked to Mossy and Luca, and I'm like, back in the day, it was like the Pointless group was what was really pushing things. And now that crew, the La Familia, they're so rad. And all of us, I think everybody in the sport loves them. I know everybody at Liquid Force loves them. I mean, even the riders that don't ride our boards, like they're some of our favorite riders just because of that energy and that vibe. And, they make the event fun. And they happen to also be the best wakeboarders in the world, which is insane.
They do. And they got one of the best filmers in the world and editors too.
Exactly.
Daniel. So it's like they got the complete package going. Okay, so let's talk about why Lake Lanier Olympic Park in Georgia, and how.
Yeah, I mean, the 100% reason that we came to Lake Lanier, Georgia was because of the crew from One Wake, AK specifically, but then Levi Dills, and then our rep, Matt Long. When we'd be at sales meetings, and it would always come up like, oh, what do you guys think about BROstock next year? And this last season was the first time that somebody came to us and said, hey, we have a venue, we have an idea, we just come out, see the place, check it out. There used to be a pro tour event here, so we know they'll close down the water and let you do it. So yeah, it was those guys. And we had other places that came to mind too, but this just seemed like the easiest. And McKenna and the team from City Gainesville were awesome to work with and helped us. So yeah, it was literally just the locals pushed us into coming and checking it, and we liked it.
Yeah, and I think the venue's amazing. I mean, we were staying in an Airbnb like 3 minutes away, and probably even faster by boat if you were to take that route. And it seems like that's kind of what a lot of people did. I think La Familia got a house, and I'm sure a bunch of other people
did. Mellon
too.
did. The Access crew did too. Yeah, and I mean, Aaron was saying he was stoked. It was like literally, he goes, the house was a little too close because he didn't have enough of a boat ride in between. But
that's fair. Yeah. I mean, it's a boat event. You like to get on the boat. All right, so before we move on to the actual event itself, let's talk about the riders meeting, dinner kind of drinks before. You did something unique, and I remember you telling me about you guys were going to do something special for the kind of BROstock legends of the past. So what did you guys do? Why did you guys, do this thing?
Yeah, so Friday night, it was Friday night, right? Yeah,
Yes, it's a blur.
Friday night at Nofo Brewery, we had the original intention to go there was just kind of a kick-up party, say hi to everybody, welcome the fans that were in there. Because that is one of the best things I think about events like this and just our sport in general is how accessible the athletes are.
It was public.
To the fans.
It's like on the schedule.
Yeah.
Show up. Go there.
Yeah.
Be with us.
I mean, there were kids that are meeting their heroes, and the parents were probably a little bit like, well, they're maybe don't look at them doing those beer bongs in the corner or whatever. But no, it was awesome. And, the main reason was that, but then also to do the heat draws and pick who's going to ride. But as we got talking, we started thinking it's like so many of the legends of BROstock, legends of our sport really, but legends of our event in our mind were working the event for us. So, we had Ollie Jerome, Tom Fouché, Brian Grubb judging. We had Sean Watson driving the boat. We had Parks and Alexa doing the live stream. Bill McCaffrey and Aaron Grace, who used to work with us, is working with Mellon, and he was here. And it just kind of came, it was actually Joe Heifel, our creative director's idea, and he was like, I feel like we should do something cool for all those people. we ran it by a couple of the riders. We ran it by Shane, who was going to get one, and he was like, "Oh my God, that'd be so insane and so cool." And I just thought it was worth honoring the people that made the event big back in the day. And there were a couple. Jimmy LaRich originally was invited to be a judge.
Yeah.
And he was in, but then he got his new job and he couldn't.
Busy.
But he was the first winner, so we made. If Jimmy's listening to this before I get to talk to him, we made like something special for him too.
Yeah.
That we're gonna give him, but we just really appreciate. I mean, that's what this event is about: is the athletes and the people that have made it what it is. And now to see those athletes, they're not riding, but they're working behind the scenes at the event is so cool.
And it's cool for the future too to like continue to build the lore of the event of like, oh, the past riders got honored in this crazy way. Like I want to be up in that upper echelon of riding and getting recognized for what you did.
Yeah, I mean, so after Friday night, I think it was Steele or Shane, one of them came to me and was like, "So what's for next year? How are we gonna induct like 2 every, turn into this thing?
Yeah, what are we gonna do?"
Yeah, it's almost like this Hall of Fame of BROstock, and I was like, we haven't thought that far yet, but
still a year out. We're still coming down from this one.
Exactly.
But that one hadn't even started at that point.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about the winners of BROstock. So I think only one LF rider has won BROstock, and I think it was Harley.
Adam Fields has won it.
Oh, Adam Fields. Okay, so
yeah,
2.
but they're the only 2.
They're the only 2.
Yeah.
This year, Luca won. I just want to hear you talk about Luca winning because a lot of energy in this movie.
I mean, it's like, I'm not a parent, but you always hear parents say you're not supposed to choose favorites.
Yeah. We
had a ton of our top riders here, right? If I'm being honest, 100% I wanted Luca to win. His spirit and how hard he works, and you see him, he's crazy. He's like the life of the party, but he also day of a demo, he's the first person out on the boat helping, the little 8-year-old kid that's never ridden before, and so he's kind of the best of everything in our sport. And he's just such a good dude, and his parents are so awesome, and yeah, I mean, it was like, obviously, if you watched, you saw how emotional he was yesterday winning. It meant a ton to him. I mean, I was crying. Jimmy Redmond was crying. Joe, like there's just a lot of people that have invested a lot of time and energy. It also doesn't hurt that we're coming out with a new pro model of his this next season too. So the timing was pretty epic too.
That is good timing.
But
if you see people riding those white Liquid Force boards, it's kind of maybe a hint at something coming in the future.
Yeah. I always say that's one of my favorite graphics we do.
I agree. I would love to ride the ADI board.
If I was a pro, that would be my board. It's just a blank graphic.
With the drop on the bottom, yeah. So actually, for the listeners, this is Luca's first pro win. So it's been 7 years since he's been riding in big events, which it feels like he is a BROstock kind of rider, like the double ups, doing all that. So it's just very fitting. And
totally. And when we just did our photo shoot in Lake Powell. It's only been like a week ago that we were at Lake Powell, but he and Sam Brown both were like so fired up on hitting double ups because they just you knew how much they wanted to win this event, and they were just going for it. And to be honest, Luca kind of wasn't riding that great. Like he was ripping like normal sessions. Double ups, he wasn't really killing it. Sam was 100%. And so I noticed yesterday, Luca just seemed a little more focused, but also a lot more nervous than he typically is. So I think to then see him put that together, and I was down at the start dock, and it's Mossy, it's that entire crew right next to me, and they're just freaking out, and they were competing against him, but they all were so fired up for him. And there's just something about that kid that is so like his attitude, his energy and vibe is just so contagious. It's awesome.
It looks like when you're watching him ride, like I'm watching footage of him, he just wants to like attack the wake and just murder the wake when he's going into it. And it's a very high energy type of riding. And when he stomps something, it's immediate, like, he's punching the wake.
Totally.
Like he's just ecstatic.
Well, and it's funny, like his new hair, dude, like his shorter hair too. For some reason, it makes him look more like a bulldog to me.
Yeah. That's a good word.
Yeah,
bulldog, definitely. All right. So, I mean, in the whole grand scheme, it's Sunday morning now. We're kind of recapping the event. How do you think it went?
So obviously anytime you do anything, I'm sure any podcast, you're like, I could have done this better or that what. But like, end of the day, everybody that I've talked to said they had an awesome time. I haven't had a chance to watch the live stream yet because I've been here. But
me neither.
But so many of my friends were watching it and we're just like, it looks insane. Like a lot of people that wanted to come to this event but just didn't make it happen, watching from afar, were like, I'm going next year. And so we had a lot of sponsors come to us like tell us what you need for next year. Like, we're ready to bring it back. I think everything about it was awesome. You know, there's a bunch of little things that we're going to try to fix.
Sure.
We've got some cool new ideas for different parts of the event, but no, I think it was great. I mean, we just wanted to get the industry together. And I mean, the fact that you guys are here, that Alliance is here, you know, we had Hyperlight and Slingshot that are competitors of ours, but they sponsored it. And it's just, you know, a few people in the industry have talked about, we think as an industry, we've gotten away from the camaraderie and we need to bring it back and help build the sport together. And that's what I thought this was. And that's what we hoped it would be. And so you're always nervous. You've put a lot of time and energy. You've taken money from sponsors. You want to make sure they're cool.
Yeah.
You want to make sure the boat is you know, the Watson is driving good double ups. He crushed it.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it was insane. And you know, just when I looked at the riding, the fact that Ulf got 4th place in the finals with that huge, what was it, S-bend, the blind? Or,
Yeah. It's
like
insane.
Giant, like ridiculously huge.
Yeah.
And he got 4th and he didn't get robbed. Like, that was legit. He should have gotten 4th because the other 3 ahead of him absolutely crushed it. I mean, it was one of the best finals I've ever seen in a wakeboard event. It was so
crazy
cool.
energy. And you were on shore, right, for that?
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
on the flotilla, Don.
Oh,
Let
yeah.
me
You
tell
were right by it then.
Let me tell you, if you're coming to BROstock, I already said it earlier when I was talking to Dylan, I don't care what boat you have. I don't care if it's a freaking Boston Whaler or a dinghy. Go to the flotilla. That's the spot to be. Like, be there because people are playing music, everybody's drinking, having a good time. The double ups are close. Like, I think the double up contests are really cool like this because normal wakeboard contests, there's a lot of downtime, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of downtime here too. But it's everybody's eyes are on this, 14-second moment of they're cutting in, they hit the double up, and they either get smoked or they lace it.
Yeah.
So it's either a high energy or like a high energy crash or a high energy make. And so the energy, I couldn't imagine how it was going to be over there from afar. And then I got over there and it's just everybody's hooting and hollering and having a good time.
Well, so. and I thought it was, like back in the day, I would probably spend more time on the flotilla than I did this trip. But I just love, I think it was Sam Brown at one of his, when he, Watson's pulling him around and he pulled him closer to the flotilla. So Sam could just go in and like spray the crowd and they're just going crazy. And yeah, I mean, that's what I think is really fun. And everybody was partying, but also I talked to the sheriffs. That was, my job, talking to the sheriffs, talking to the police, all this. They were like, this crowd was so awesome. Like, yeah, people were having a good time, but everybody was doing it in the right way.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Yeah. Everybody was safe. Nobody got hurt. I mean, it just was so fun. And yeah, you're right. The flotilla is where it's at. I mean, that's why like half the riders, when they'd get done, they didn't even come back to the dock. Like I saw the footage. I think it was yours. If it wasn't yours, if it was Alliance's or whatever, but of Luca realizing he had won.
Yeah.
On the back of somebody's boat. It was
insane,
so rad.
Insane. Just surrounded by fans of wakeboarding, La Familia crew. Just everybody there. Just
Sam, and I forget if it's Ulf or Kai tackling it. Like it just, that was like, that's it for me. Like that made the event all worth it.
How can you see that and not want to be around for it? Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like it just, the energy is crazy. I know I said it a lot, but it's so cool. And it was so cool to be a part of that flotilla. And I think it's only going to get bigger. So let's speak about the future. So what's the future of BROstock look like, I guess? Yeah,
I mean, first off, it's really cool that you and Dylan were here because listening to your podcast, and every once in a while you'll have athletes list their favorite events, and every once in a while somebody would say BROstock, but it's been so long, so a lot of the new generation, it's not a thing. Yeah. So now I'm like excited because I'm like, okay, we're up there again, and let's just keep building on that. I think first and foremost, we'd like to grow the prize purse for the dudes. Like, it was pretty good this year, but first place was 7,500. Yeah. At our peak, first place was 20 grand. So yeah, we want to get it back there. We'd obviously like to add more women to the event. Like having Huge and Julia yesterday was epic, but got to get Megan, got to get Zara, got to get
Megan. This is a call out.
Yeah.
You have to come. Yeah. I don't care what happens. You're coming next year.
Jamie, like whoever.
Jamie, Zara, you're coming too. You're all coming. All right.
I mean, Megan had a family reason. And we were like, just tell I think it's her cousin was getting married. I'm like, tell him to change the date. Like, she was so bummed. Yeah. But
we get it though. All right.
But so to grow that, the rail jam part, like to make that, try to figure out a way to make that a little bit more of a part of the event too. But yeah, just bigger really, and
keep going,
get more people here. So yeah, we'll spend the next 2 to 3, 4 weeks talking to all the sponsors, talking to all the riders, getting feedback and seeing where we go from there. But I mean, I don't necessarily know that I want to be running this for the next 10 years, but I'm hoping we have a 10-year awesome run with this again.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of like you're talking about building events. It's like year one's going to be the hardest, but once people realize it's a good time, it's just going to grow each year after year. And so I think that's what WakeFest has done. It's been around for a long time. I'd love to see more, BROstock do that and maybe another event do that throughout the summer where it's like, all right, we got a big purse. Everybody's here. It's a big party.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, and to give a shout out to our friends in Germany, we had talked for a long time at Liquid Force about doing a cable event in the U.S., trying to organize something. And Aaron Grace and I went to LAO, and we came back just like, well, in fact, the first time I think just Aaron went. He came back, he goes, we can't one up that event. That event, I mean, I know Munich Mash. There's others that are like the cable events have historically been pretty epic. And so then when I went to LAO the last 2 years, that's all I kept thinking. I'm like, we need to make this event as cool and as big as LAO is, but for the boat community. And I think we didn't completely get there, but I think we got close, and that's our goal, is that we keep doing that and that they keep doing that, and Munich and all these other events keep crushing it. And that's how we get people. That's how we get young kids and aspiring to be pros. And that's really what
get them into it.
Yeah.
Really into it.
And that's what leads to the sport growing is when the sport was at its peak, it was because the Pro Tour was on fire. There were all these other events, Shane and Parks and all these, Danny Harp, they were all like, everybody looked up to them, and there were so many regional events were huge. And so I just hope this
is a big piece of the puzzle.
I hope it inspires other people to do regional versions like this, and then other brands to do something like this too. I think some of the other brands could step up a little bit as far as their support of the sport on a whole, like not just doing sales events for themselves. Like, no,
do something for the community and the culture.
Yeah.
Create events. Events are, I think, the future of this and what we really need. And it's huge. So, all right. Well, I mean, is there anything else you want to touch on BROstock before I let you go and maybe not be late to your flight?
Yeah, I was going to say, I probably feel my crew lurking behind me.
They're all cleaning stuff up and you're just sitting here on a fucking podcast.
Yeah, you guys saved me from having to tear banners down and stuff. But no, I just, I've thanked all the sponsors a million times, thanked the riders, thanked everybody involved. The Liquid Force crew, like there's so many people that came out here that just crushed it. Chris Bischoff and Josh and Brendan Harris, like those guys were epic. Like I could just go on and on and on, but first and foremost, thank you guys. Like really, when we saw what you guys did at Wake the City, it was like, that is so cool. We got to do something like that. And I think you guys crushed it here.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, we wouldn't be here without you. So thanks for thinking of us.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all just, I think, on the same page of what we want to have done here. And
totally.
Do our own version of it. So
yeah, and what you're doing for the sport is so awesome too, I think. Like it's, and I don't know. Like I don't think it gets said enough. It probably gets said a lot to you, but it's like there's outside of your world, people are so fired up on what you're doing in this media. And it's a good people learn the history of the sport, but people also, I learned there's tons of riders and tons of things I don't know about that I've learned.
Trying to usher in the new, the new era.
Yeah.
So actually, before we let you go, this is going to come out on Tuesday, so a couple days. So what code can people use to get 15% off Liquid Force gear?
Oh man, what?
Freedom 15.
Well, I'm just going to give them my personal pro form code.
There we go. We
have a little.
I love it.
We have a little contest that Billy Witcher does with all of our.
I'll put it on the screen here, obviously, when he says it. But yeah, if you need new gear, I mean, go to liquidforce.com, get some new shit.
Yeah. All right. So it's all capitals. It's. I might have to change that one. That might
change it.
That might get you too much.
Okay. Well, what's a different one? We can cut that out.
I don't know. I don't have them memorized.
Well, Freedom 15 is the 4th of July sale, yeah?
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's what I was going to plug.
See, Okay. Let's use that one.
All right. Well, I'll just cut it in real quick. All right. So if you need new Liquid Force gear, or any gear, go to liquidforce.com.
I'm such a great salesperson.
Freedom 15. Get some new shit, all right? They brought BROstock back. If you're hyped on that, go get some Liquid Force gear. That's what we're trying. That's what we're getting at.
I love that you know our discount code and I don't. That's awesome.
Company man.
That's perfect.
Yeah, help out here. So besides that, thanks for coming on, Don. Thanks for everybody who's helped put this event on, and like you said, a lot of names, too many names, but thanks for everybody who showed up. And if BROstock happens again next year, which I think we're all hoping it will be here.
Also, just like, it's cool too, just like sick boat event going down this weekend, and then also Munich Mash in Germany, like same weekend, seeing the stuff come out of that, and then you're going to do a quick little recap on that, yeah?
Yeah, so I'm going to get on FaceTime or Zoom or whatever with Alex Aulbach, who's one of the judges at Munich Mash. It's happening right now as we're seeing it, so I'm going to rewatch, the women's and the men's finals, and then I'll talk to Alex, and he'll kind of give us the lowdown of the cable side of things that went on this weekend over at Munich Mash, which is another one of the biggest marquee events of our sport. So kind of curious to hear, what went on over there.
Yeah, potentially different vibes. German contest versus just America, people chugging beers out of wooden eagles.
Yep.
Athletes shotgunning in the middle of their heat.
I think the party was still good over there.
All right.
So,
we'll get the down low.
We'll get the down low on it. So, we'll jump into that next. All right, so we're here with Alex Aulbach, one of the judges from Munich Mash this past weekend. We're going to run through the contest, kind of what happened. First, I want to talk about the team contest because it was definitely different this year. So I basically just run through. I mean, I was a little bit confused, honestly, on how the teams were made because it was like teams of girls and guys, and like what happened? What was that?
It was it was a little bit weird at first because it was a full random draw. Like anything was able to happen, like boy teams or boy girl or girl teams, and yeah, that's what we had. We had like boy teams, boy girl teams, and it was definitely a challenge. It was fun, not just watching. Judging was fun as well, but it was definitely something I've never done before. Yeah. It's really hard to compare, a boy girl team to a boy team, for example.
Yeah.
And it was definitely something I've never done before, but it was sick. I enjoyed it.
All right. Do you think they're going to run this same situation back, or maybe go to a normal team contest next year?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that again.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Whatever. You try something new. Who cares?
No, it was it was really nice, and it was worth a try, of course.
Yeah.
But I think there's better things we could do.
I mean, I like the
spectators, but also I liked it too. Like, it was cool, and a lot of people really enjoyed watching it. But I think there is more things or different things we could do, not just for the riders, but also for the spectators.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, I was just curious on that real quick. All right, let's just dive into it. What happened in men's qualies? There's a little controversy going on here. So run me through what happened here, bud.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, we did obviously see the comments on the internet, like on YouTube and stuff, and obviously all the judges are well aware of the comments, and it was funny. It popped up on my phone while we were judging girls finals. That's when I got the notification, like 2 minutes before the girls finals started. My phone popped up, and I was like, "Oh, I got tagged in a post. I wonder what that is." And then we saw some comments and stuff, and we as judges, we do watch the whole live stream after every contest to just see, like, are we happy with our decisions? Did we miss something? Why did we miss it? Or pretty much anything, just like to double check. And we did notice that on the live stream you do see things that we don't see during the contest, but also you don't see things on the live stream that we see while judging in real life. Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of people are really confused sometimes with the results. And for me, it was like I did pretty much Munich Mash in every scenario. I competed at Munich Mash. I was a spectator at Munich Mash. I was a commentator at Munich Mash. And now I'm a judge at Munich Mash. And sometimes when I wasn't a judge, I was confused about a few decisions. But now, when I was a judge for the first time, I think it's just like people that get confused watching it, like the spectators. They don't know what we talked about in the riders breathing, like they don't know what we were looking for. And I think that's why sometimes it gets confusing, and especially if you just like see one clip of a run from one perspective, like the live stream, you don't see what we were seeing from our judges booth.
Yeah. Okay. So give an example, I guess, because I like briefly watched through it. I didn't watch all the hits and all the runs because I haven't had time. But
For an example, Pedro did a Pete 5. Sorry, I was watching a lot of wakeboarding. I'm pretty sure he did a Pete 5 in his first run.
yep, P5.
He did a Pete 5, and Gavin did a Mope 5.
Yep.
And
Crail.
with the Crail. And on the live stream, you don't see, but Gavin was probably a good meter and a half higher. So like 3 to 5 feet higher. Also jumped probably 2 to 3 meters further. So 6 to 10 feet further than Pedro, which
Yeah.
on the live stream you didn't see, because I was watching the live stream after and I was like, oh, it looks like it's the exact same thing.
The drone on the live stream, you definitely can't tell. Like the drone was decently far away, and you definitely couldn't tell the difference of amplitude.
So I totally understand why some guys are like, what's going on? But like we have to judge with what we see in real life. And like if you jump like 1.5 meters higher and 2 or 3 meters further, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And then if you come off a rail a little bit early, that's also a big factor, and like those things that add up. And it was a really close call, like with the scores sometimes, because we put our scores in an iPad. Sometimes the gaps between the scores of the riders seem a little bit bigger than they actually are, because everything is happening so fast. Like the rider finishes the run, we have 5 seconds, and then the guy next to us is screaming at us, scores, I need scores. So, and then we talk about like, was it better? Was it worth? Like, how much better? Just a little bit, blah, blah. And then we put our scores in. And then sometimes, the gaps look maybe bigger or maybe smaller than they actually were. And, I think that's what a lot of people confused or got confused by.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know, the numbers themselves on the runs is something that's going to be like an impossible thing to get consistent throughout the entire day. But like the placing of them, like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way down, is the most important thing to get correct.
Exactly,
like,
and that's what we're looking for. Like we don't really look for, oh, should he be like 3 points ahead or 2 points ahead or 5 points ahead? That's not what we're looking at. We're just like, should he be in first? Should he be in second? Should he be in third? Or whatever ranking. That's what we are looking for. And that's that's what's happening.
All right, so let's talk about the women's side, because I watched the women's finals. They didn't have any qualies, and they rode on Saturday, and the dudes rode on Sunday. So did the dudes get like an extra day of practice compared to the girls?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But well, because the dudes were also practicing like Sunday morning, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
And the dudes had qualies on Saturday before the girls.
Yeah.
So we had so
got a good bit more riding, which is interesting. I don't know. I just wanted to point that out. All right. So Rivers, in her runs, she had a huge bobble. I think it was in her final run. She did like the double revert and then cut over, did chrome over in the kicker. Is her run pretty much over at that point? Like, is that such a big bobble where it's like you have to do something so over the top that like there's no coming back almost?
So how we were judging boys and girls, like it was the whole contest, we were judging overall impression on the runs. So we didn't judge, like, for example, Red Bull Wake Duel, we have sections, and you can win a section and then you can totally fuck up another section. It wouldn't matter if you win the most sections, but we were judging overall impression on the run. So what that means is like you probably could have a wobble. Like Gavin had a pretty big wobble in his first run on the first hit. And we were just like, oh, damn. But then he just like, I don't know what happened. He landed on his back, got back up, and then like a flip switched, and he just absolutely killed it. And then we were like, well, he did mess up on this one hit, but so did all the others. And then we have to compare it, like we still watch, like if you have like, I don't know, if you come off a rail early or something, you should always keep riding because you don't know what's happening to the other guys, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you don't fall, just keep going and see if you can get the best score. Like, we keep watching, we keep scoring, but if you fully submarine and the board's behind you and you're like body dragging out of it, then you can probably let go and it's over. But if you keep riding and you didn't really fall, it was just a big wobble, just keep going. And
I feel like Rivers was like right. It wasn't quite like a complete fall, but it was like double revert, like fully out of control almost. Like not in the water, but like what I'm hearing is she could have come back from it possibly and like got a high enough score to podium, but it's hard to do at that point.
It's really hard because, you know, like it all comes down to what's everyone else doing. You know, if everyone else is having like at least one wobble in their run, it can still get pretty close, you know, even with a wobble. If everyone else did a perfect run, no wobble, no early off on any rail, probably not possible for you to podium with a wobble in your run.
And that makes sense. I feel like that's fair because, you know, you're looking for what it sounds like your criteria is overall, you're looking for a perfect run.
Yeah, we were looking for full pulls on the rails, no zeeches, and because we had pretty easy rails at the end of the front line, the rooftops. So because we had pretty easy, you know, rails, we want to see the best rail hits. We don't want to see board slide in between your bindings. We wanted to see like nose presses, tail presses, nose blunts, tail blunts, you know, to just, because the rails are so easy, to just then be like, this is the difference, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, watching it, those two features that were like symmetrical were, you know, pretty standard, pretty easy. So you have to be doing something on those. All right, why is the ramp at Munich Mash so hard to get up at the end of the run?
Oh yeah. I can't remember which year.
Every year, dude. Every year.
No, I know. But one year someone launched that high into the back wall that the whole wall flew over. Was that Pedro?
I'm trying to think of who that was. I don't remember who that was, but I'm picturing it in my head right now.
I can't remember, but yeah, so every year, and I competed there as well, and I struggled to get up there. It's how you land. Like, you land after you run, or even in practice. It's not only during the contest, even in practice. You land, and depending on your trick, like either when you were spinning or whatever, you were pulling, and then at the end, you're pulling your way to make it up that ramp. And depending where you landed, like if you're closer to the up ramp or further away, if you pull, like if you're further away, you make it up there perfect. But if you land a little bit too far or like too close to the up ramp, still pulling, you're just launching off that thing.
it's like a very small window of either too hard or not enough, and it's one of the best parts of Mash.
Exactly, it's like a really small window of just like, I'm not making it up, or like I'm launching over this whole thing, and hopefully no one's standing there, because you can't brake. Like, once you're on this thing, you can't brake because it's like ACPE, like it's plastic. You're just going.
Super slick. I love it. All right, one last question before we wrap this up. Are the kickers at Mash the biggest in the world? Can we confirm that?
I think so.
I just heard it a lot.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they're custom made. Unit made them custom for the last year of the Big Air. And then they stopped doing the Big Air, so now they moved them down, and it's a step up. And those things are huge. Like, they are massive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, I think they're the biggest kickers in the world.
Well, it's kind of like a step up too, so I guess that's why we didn't see Liam Peacock triple. But if we had the Big Air, I feel like we might have. I would hope.
Well, I think what he was doing was pretty cool either way.
Okay, fair. Yeah, that's fair. All right. I mean, anything else you want to?
Yes, I don't want to spoiler.
Yeah.
But there's been some other tricks that happened.
Okay.
Some other tricks.
We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that.
So
stay tuned.
Just stay tuned on social media. But there's been some mayhem going down over the weekend.
Jeez, we love to hear that. All right. Well, I mean, before we wrap this up, anything else you want to touch on Mash? I mean, anything you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
I just want to thank Mash, like, from not just personally, but like I think from the whole wakeboarding scene. Thank you, Munich Mash, for putting us on one of the sickest extreme sports events in not just Europe, but the whole world, and to, put us out there, show the people what wakeboarding is, and I think that's like the greatest thing ever.
Well, they showed it in a good way. The live stream is so easy to watch. It moves so fast. The setup's always interesting. Some years it's harder than others, and that's whatever, but it's always interesting. It always changes. It's always a great field of riders. Like, it's got it all, you know? It's a great...
Exactly, and there's just so many people, you know? There's just like, everyone's watching skating, and then they move over and watch wakeboarding, and there's just like so many
Where do you
people.
get that? You don't ever get that in the world, any other contest, so...
No, there's no other contest I've been at where there was that many people interested in watching wakeboarding.
Yeah, 100%. All right, well, I appreciate your time. I'm sweating my ass off up here. Can you see
I
how
see it. It's so funny.
It's
'cause
so
I'm
bad.
in Munich
It's got to be 110
110
degrees.
and it's really hot here, but it's like it's kind of late, and you're just like dripping.
Yeah, it's like I'm in a sauna, dude. It's terrible. All right. Well, thanks for the time, Alex. When I get over there, hopefully see you. But
Appreciate the call, and I'll see you soon, hopefully.
yeah, absolutely.
Go grab some electrolytes, and
Yeah, I'm gonna need it, dude. I'm gonna need a cold shower. All right. See you later, man.
all right.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, see you later. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, I think, yeah, thanks for helping out this weekend. I think, you know, we had a lot of fun, and thanks to Liquid Force and all the event sponsors for putting this on. And
Yeah.
can't wait for next year's BROstock 2026.
Yes, sir. 2026. I'll see you there.
All right. See you there.